Hello and welcome back to the Women's Football Chat. Today we're going to discuss one player every WSL club needs to sign. So we're going to go through each WSL club and pick a player that they need to sign. Now we're going to start at the bottom of the table. So if you're waiting for the big clubs, the Chelsea, Cities, Arsenals, Man United, you might want to skip a bit or just watch this first bit as we go through all the clubs. We can start right at the bottom because I think it's quite difficult to do for these bottom sides, especially for the team bottom of the league. And actually there's two clubs where I don't think they need to sign anyone or can sign anyone for that matter. Bristol City, bottom of the league right now, they're one of them because they can't sign anyone. They're at the registration limit. Now, the only way they could sell someone is if someone was to be sold, obviously, or if Brooke Aspin was recalled from her loan, but then they're going to have to replace her. So it's not really a great situation for Bristol City right now. They've also got no money, so it's quite difficult for them to do anything. Where do you think they... I mean, you could say, where do you think they'll look to improve if they could? Probably everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, January transfer window is that kind of window where you look at where you are in the season and you try and bring in players and make changes that are going to keep you in the league. But in their situation, there's nothing they can do. They've got to hope that who they have right now is enough to keep in the league.
It's about culminating a good feeling around the players they've got at the club right now. And similar to Luton Town, actually, in the Premier League, making the best of what you have with what you can do with limited resources compared to the top sides who actually have some full-time scouts. Scouting isn't really a thing in women's football, but like Chelsea, I think, have 2 permanent scouts. A handful of clubs have a couple, but most clubs don't. But still, Bristol City are so far off that. In terms of their scouting, and they don't have the budget to even sign players. So they're not in a great position right now. Whether they can bring anyone in this window remains to be seen, but I don't really know who they would look at.
No.
They need players anywhere they can get them, but unless somebody leaves, no one's going to be joining.
Yeah.
The other club I've not attributed a signing to is Brighton. Now, they're not 11th, they're 10th in the league, so they do ruin that chronology, but Brighton signed 11 players last summer. If there's ever a story not to sign anyone, it's that you've signed an entire 11 the season before. So I think they just need to lay off the signings in January, allow the 11 players to bed in a little bit, and then go again next summer. So that leaves 10 clubs. We've got a player for each. Let's roll into them. We're going to start with West Ham. Off the bat, is there anywhere in West Ham's team you think they need to improve?
I mean, I think we know they're defensively all right. We know going forward they can bag a goal or two, but it's that engine room, it's that midfield space that realistically they probably want to bring someone in for.
Yeah, and so we already know they're signing Kirsty Mewis, but that would have been cheating to put her in here. Yeah. We are doing the same thing later on with other confirmed signings, but would have been cheating when we've got another good option. But Mewis will definitely add that. Such an experienced player with the UWSNT. So, yeah, I think for me, she's a great signing, but they do need more in there. Katrina Gorey. Linked with the side, obviously the 31-year-old Australian midfielder, 105 appearances for Australia, which is an incredible number, obviously, given the lack of international games that the women's team play, especially in the past. Obviously, now we have a few more with Nations League and such, but yeah, obviously, currently applying her trade out in Vitso GIK in Sweden. You can see a lot of Swedish names here. Yeah. Their season's just ended, so obviously we're getting to the end of their campaign. We can see which players have performed well. Do you think Gorey would be a good addition to West Ham?
I think so, yeah. I mean, you look at the World Cup in there with Cooney Cross, Gorey, put in a shift, and Australia had a very good tournament. And obviously Cooney Cross got her move to the Premier League for Arsenal. Could Gorey come and join her? Obviously, for the Hammers. And again, realistically, if West Ham would go in for her, she's not going to say no, is she?
No, probably not. But and that midfield with her and Kirsty Mewis, it takes West Ham from 11th in the league to suddenly having one of the stronger midfields. So a really good bit of recruitment, and it really shows the difference actually between the sides that have been the WSL now and the team that's just come up, because Bristol City can't do that. West Ham are in the relegation, right? They've signed Kirsty Mewis and potentially Katrina Gorey. So yeah, that's it's really, really strong from them, and I think that will be a nice composition to their midfield. She'll add a lot. And, at 31, not going to be too many years, but you're going to get a good couple seasons out of her. Up next, then, Aston Villa. It's been a season for Villa which really has taken a nosedive. Last campaign, they were pushing close to Europe. Rachel Daly was top scorer, and everything seemed really good around Aston Villa. But this season, it's been a stark contrast from their fortunes last campaign as they find themselves down in 9th. It's just not been good enough from Aston Villa, and so where do you think they need to improve?
Well, I mean, we know Villa are good going forward. That front three, whatever concoction it is, but I again, it is defensively very shaky, and I think the midfield's been very hot and cold depending on who's been in there. So I guess you either look for a midfielder or someone to shore your defence up.
I think it's a weird situation to Villa because actually they don't need anything. Their team should be good enough. Like if you look at that midfield, you've got Kenza Dali in there, and actually with her back from injury, they have looked better. However, I am going to suggest a midfielder here of Denise O'Sullivan. Now she's been linked with moves across Europe. She's currently playing for North Carolina Courage, who I did have to Google. They are a real team, just to clear up. But yeah, I think she'd had a lot. Obviously, Irish capped midfielder. She's made 109 appearances for the Irish national team, 29 years old. Linked with a host of clubs, so it's going to be difficult for Villa to pull it off. Chelsea are linked, Manchester City are linked, PSG are linked. So it's difficult. There's going to be a lot of interest in her, but I don't think she's the level that Chelsea or City would want. I don't think Chelsea need a midfielder. No. I have no idea why Chelsea would be linked with her or Grace Gayoro. Not really. Like I love Grace Gayoro. I think she's a really good player. I think Denise Sullivan's quite good. Denise O'Sullivan's really good as well, but they don't need them, Chelsea. For Villa, though, another midfielder, another rotation option. I don't think they're quite at that registration limit yet, so they've got space to bring players in. I think it'll be a smart transfer. A good playmaker as well, and with Villa struggling to create chances and get goals this season, I think she'd suit that team really nicely. And as I say, with Chelsea, she's not needed. City not really needed either. You've got Gio Ward, you've got Yui Hasegawa. Leave this one to Aston Villa.
Yeah.
The problem could be PSG if they lose Grace Gayoro, though. So that is something to think about. Do you think it'll be a good addition?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they could pull it off against those
any
clubs,
sort of playmaker's useful right now for Villa. They're just not creating enough chances for Rachel Daly.
Someone that does something, really.
Yeah, someone who gets things going. On to Leicester City then, and this is where we start to reach the territory of not quite as certain on who these players are. Done enough research to be able to talk about them here, but not really done enough to know a lot about them. But let's see, I've said Rika Saveka. So she was at Everton last season. She joined Portland Thorns last summer, but she's not played. And I think there's an opportunity there for Leicester to go and bring her in, either on a permanent or potentially even a loan if Portland aren't happy to sell her right now. Because she is a good player, the Danish centre-half. 27 years old, though. She's made 44 caps for Denmark. She will not be happy not playing for Portland. But, yeah, I think there's definitely an opportunity there. And yeah, I mean, a centre-half, useful. Leicester haven't been sensational defensively. If we've watched, the games we've watched of them, they score a lot of goals. They don't really stop any. So that could be quite useful for them. But yeah, it's difficult with these middle teams because, well, West Ham and Aston Villa both have lofty ambitions and are signing ambitious players. But for Leicester, who aren't really operating on a huge budget, exactly, they'll be happy to just bring in a couple of players. They should be fine, I think, to stay up ahead of like Bristol City and co. But they'll want to be as high up the league as possible. As for Everton, I actually think some legs in midfield would be quite useful for them. They're not a bad team, Everton. They played quite well this season. Some of their players have had particularly strong campaigns, Piemonte and others, and Gali, of course. But I feel that there's still something needed there. Helmgard as well. I don't know, I'm just listing Everton players. But I still think there's something needed there, potentially midfield, just to add some legs. Yeah. What do you think?
I mean, the other thing is, you say again, they've been a bit similar to Leicester. They've been good going forward, but when it comes to the defensive part of the game and the kind of the hard work in there, the grit that I think, the best demonstration with it was Kit Graham against Arsenal for Tottenham. When you want a midfielder like that who's got the legs to
maybe
keep
just nick Kit Graham then.
Yeah, maybe just Tottenham do that.
Probably not. But I've suggested a midfielder, a young midfielder, Signe Hansen Bartrup. Now she's 23, Danish player, hasn't played yet for Denmark and is still in the Danish league for Fortuna Hjørring. I hope I pronounced that correctly. If there's any Danes watching, then apologies if I've mispronounced that. But I think she'd be a good addition to Everton's midfield. She has a lot of energy. She's a very good player. And, well, should definitely be in line for a Denmark cap soon. She's played a lot with the youth teams, but hasn't yet been given her senior international call-up. But I think she'd suit this Everton side. There's a lot of young players there. There's a lot of promise there. And so, I think she's a good suggestion, if I do say so myself. Now into some of the more well-known teams, some of the more well-known players. And actually first, we're going to start with a pretty much confirmed transfer. It's Tottenham and it's their acquisition of Charlotte Grant. A good centre-half, 22 years old, 21 caps already for the Australian national side. Very, very impressive stuff. And she plays for the same side of Katrina Gori out in Sweden, Vizio GIK. So this deal seems to be done. It's set to be announced in the coming days. What do you think of it?
It makes sense. We've said this a lot about Tottenham this season. They're very good going forward. We know they've got the legs in midfield and the work rate there, but defensively they've been let down a few times. I think with
been better in recent weeks, though, particularly in the Arsenal game.
Bartrupp's been a bit hot and cold. Buda's obviously injured now, so bringing in another helps with that, so that you'll rotate. Is it Turner or Taylor? I can never remember.
I think it's Turner.
I think
I'm
it's
not
Turner.
sure.
Rotating in there with Bartlett, Turner, and Grant. That it just shores you up a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. It gives other options. When they're all fit, though, who starts?
I think you'd start Grant and Bartlett.
Yeah.
And then
I was going to say,
would come.
which is so harsh on Luana Vula because she's a very good player. So, but there's a nice selection headache to have for Robert Villaharm, and for a side that has European ambitions, that's exactly what they need. Competition for places is going to be strong. They need that in order to be competitive, though.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good acquisition from them. That deal seems to be done. It should be announced in the coming days. On to Liverpool now. I think Liverpool's biggest struggle this season has been scoring goals. They've had some good performers. I think Shanice van der Sander's had a very good campaign. I think that Sophie Holbinger she's pretty much been their only goal scorer, so that's been quite crucial. And defensively, they're not too bad. I think other than the Chelsea game, I can't really call upon a time when Liverpool have been battered this season.
No,
and they took the game to Arsenal. They won that game, didn't they? They beat Aston Villa as well. They've had some big victories this season. Whether that's sustainable long term, I'm not quite sure. But the one department they've struggled in is that goal scoring department. I think Matt Bader will be keen to bring someone in.
Yeah.
I've decided to go for Romy Leukter, the Ajax 22-year-old forward. She's a striker, plays for the Dutch national team, 12 appearances for them, which is interesting because I don't remember her coming on at the World Cup. So whether she's played a lot of the friendlies and Nations League games. I mean, obviously we've had 3 Nations League games since that World Cup. So every chance that she's played in and around, but didn't go to the World Cup. But yeah, for me, she looks very good. I saw her in the UWCL, and she's already got a goal in this Champions League campaign. Unfortunately, there's not any statistics out there about the women's Eredivisie, or they're not very easy to find. So not quite sure how she's performing over there, but based on everything I read, she is doing well. She is a good player, and I think a move to WSL is warranted. It's a bit of a gamble for Liverpool. Liverpool side who need goals, but backing a 22-year-old coming in from the Dutch league, but they do seem to have a nice Dutch contingent going if they bring her in, because they'll have Justine Hines, I believe, is Dutch, and Shanice van der Sanden, so they'll have a lovely little Dutch contingent, which is what you want from a team, really. And I think she'll be a good addition to their side. They just need some goals, Liverpool.
Yeah, they do.
Maybe how just not hit the ground running at all.
Realistically, how Van der Sanden and haven't really done what's been required. But I think the problem could be obviously bringing out a striker. If all 3 of them are firing, what do you do? Or if all 3 of them are not firing,
what do you do? Goals. But Sophie has not even played every game this season. They do rotate her out quite frequently. But yeah, whether she can hit the ground running, maybe a bit more competition actually could put the pressure on Haug and encourage her to play better.
Maybe so.
That's exactly what they need. Now, I'm going to do the next one the other way around. So Manchester United are 4th, but in order to have a bit of continuity here, I'm going to do Arsenal first. There's a very key reason why I'm going to do Arsenal first, because my suggestion for Arsenal is Mary Earps. Now, it's going to be an ambitious one to pull off, but it's been rumoured for a while. Earps is interested in the move reportedly. I think at 30, this is her last chance to get a move to one of the bigger clubs. But for me, it just makes sense. Zinsberg, I think, is a very good goalkeeper. I think a lot of disrespect has been put on Manuela Zinsberger's name. I think a lot of Arsenal fans, especially ones with Katie McKay profile pictures on Twitter, have disrespected Zinsberger this season because she's been blamed. She was blamed for the Tottenham goal, which is mind blowing to me because I don't know what she's expected to do there. And she's been blamed in other situations this season. For me, she's still a very strong goalkeeper, and this would be a nice competition. I think Zinsberg would still stay. I wouldn't be surprised if she left, though, because there are going to be offers out there. Potentially Barcelona if Panos still... I mean, Panos has said she will not renew her contract. Whether she moves in January or not remains to be seen. But there's going to be options for Zinsberg abroad. There's going to be in the WSL. She decides, she's happy to step down potentially to a smaller club. So there's always going to be options. I think she'd stay and fight for a place, though.
Yeah.
But it does mean that Sabrine D'Angelo is probably going. But it just makes sense. Mary Earps, England's number 1, very good goalkeeper over the last few years. And for Manchester United, she's incredible. She would be good for Arsenal. I don't know. I don't see any downsides. I see loads of potential upsides. It's going to be an expensive one, I think, to pull off. I'm not... Does she have 6 months left on her contract? Or
I don't know.
I think she's had a new one, though, at the start of the season. So potentially longer than that. But yeah, it's going to be somewhat expensive to pull off. I imagine it will be similar to what they paid for Manchester United for Alessia Russo, so could be quite an expensive one depending on that contract length. But for me, 100% worth it.
Yeah, no, it's a no-brainer for everyone. Earps gives probably gets a better chance at holding her England spot and better chance of winning trophies. Arsenal, they've
had to already extensive. I mean, we could run through everything she's won. She's done brilliantly, but
and Arsenal, they have been hit and miss their goalkeepers this year. They've rotated them out. They've both had a few howlers. Bringing in Mary Earps would just topple all of that. But the only downside is that United lose their goalkeeper.
Yeah, so for Manchester United, that would be a huge problem. But losing a 30-year-old Mary Earps, I know 30 is quite young for a goalkeeper, gives an opportunity actually to go and get a nailed-on starting keeper for the next sort of decade. Now, I did consider some other options, and I think there's going to be a lot of controversy about who I've suggested here. Because I've said Ellie Roebuck, the Manchester City current backup goalkeeper. Obviously, she's been displaced by Kiara Keating over this season,
and stay that way.
And well, definitely so. And the rumours are she wants to leave. Now, obviously, moving from the blue side of Manchester to the red is going to be a controversial one. But I don't really see where the downside is here. She's 24 years old. She's a 11-time capped England international goalkeeper. She's going to be around for a while. Obviously, I don't think she's at the level of a Kiara Keating. I don't think she's at the level of a Hannah Hampton.
No.
But I think she's still a very good goalkeeper. And for Manchester United, that's going to be probably the cheapest way of replacing Mary Earps.
Yeah, and I think Roebuck, as you say, she's a very good goalkeeper. She's consistent, and I don't think she'll be very happy that she's been replaced by this 19-year-old Kiara Keating, and she'll want to leave. And even if it is the red side of Manchester, if it's what she needs to do for her career to
she's been
spot.
Well, it might be exactly what she wants. She's been dropped by City. What better way to get your own back than go and join their rivals? But there are going to be other options. United could go and look at Courtney Brosnan, who's had a fantastic season. They could look at Sophia Bagley, who's also had a good season. My other suggestion would be see if Inaki Panos. Is it Inaki Panos?
I don't know.
It's not Inaki, is it? I can't remember. No. I'm thinking of the Barcelona men's third goalkeeper. I'm thinking of Inaki. He is. Don't sign him.
Yeah.
But let me just refamiliarise. Sandra Panos. If she's interested, you've got to throw everything you've got at her.
Maybe.
I think she's probably going to go America because that's where everyone goes.
Yeah.
But if there's even a slither of an opportunity, I reckon she's probably going to join Giraldes. Obviously, Giraldes isn't confirmed anywhere yet. Looks like he'll go Washington Red Spirit though, and I could see her joining there. But if she's not going there, surely you've got to be tempted to put in a bid there. Because if you get 250k for Mary Earps, 300k for Mary Earps, I think you can take that money, go over to Barcelona,
add a bit more.
I think less. Nah. She's got 6 months left on the deal.
Yeah, maybe.
No, they're going to lose her for free. They'll probably take 50k, 100k at this point. So for me, especially given Barca, Sandra Panos has not played every game this season, I don't believe. It's been... Who else is there? Catalina Cole, who obviously displaced her in the national team.
Yeah.
So I think there's an opportunity here for them to go and get Sandra Panos, who's been one of the best goalkeepers over the last few years in the women's game. So it just makes sense to me, but I don't know if they'll pull that off. I think Ellie Roebuck's a bit more realistic, which seems mental because she's a Manchester City player, but I don't see any boundaries or barriers to making that happen. Now for the top two clubs then, and we'll start with the aforementioned Manchester City. What do you give the clubs who have everything? Because Manchester City and Chelsea both seemingly have everything. What are your initial suggestions? We'll start with City. What do you think they need?
I think City's the most difficult one because they haven't looked like Chelsea. For me, they look like they've needed something defensively. For City, they've been defensively solid. Their midfield is full of room, and their attack is lethal.
It is.
So what do you give to that?
Kelly's had a difficult season, but other than that, I think they've had... I mean, even then, she's not been bad. She's just not really put up the numbers you'd expect from Chloe Kelly. But for me, City are really strong. The only possible suggestions I'd have, other than the person I've gone for, is a centre-half, maybe. I think that if you want to fight right at the top, Greenwood, perfect. I don't want to put any disrespect on Kelly. I think she's a really good player. But there's going to be better out there to play that right centre-half role. So for me, there's definitely options there. I think their fullbacks are strong. I think, as you say, the midfield composition is really, really nice with Ua Harby, Jill Ward and Angledale in there. Potentially there's an option to bring in someone over Angledale, but I think Hasegawa and Ward are pretty much nailed at this point. In terms of who I suggested then, I actually think it's time to take a bit of a punt, bring in someone young take a bit of a gamble. Matilda Winberg. Now, there's been a rapid rise for Matilda Winberg over the last few years. So she's only 20 years old, but she won the title, the Swiss League title with Hammarby this year. And, won that actually only 2 months ago. Their season only ended 2 months ago. And picking up 6 goals, 3 assists. The season before that, she was in Division 1, which I believe is the second tier of Swedish football. Jumped up to the first tier with the best team in the league and has made a real impression. She's been capped 4 times now by the Swedish national side. She looks a really exciting left winger.
Yeah.
She'll rotate nicely into that role. I think they've got Jess Park, who is eventually going to come in and be that starting right winger. Yeah. They've got Mary Fowler, who potentially will start in the middle, though Khadija Shaw's still got more than enough time left. And obviously Kelly and Hempford still young, so I'm not usurping them, but it gives them options. I think Winberg comes in and gives that left wing a bit of competition.
And I think also to bring her on in a game, maybe that's a close game, one that you need a goal in, or one that you want to try and manage to turn the result over.
Even if you sign her and loan her back out somewhere, I don't think that's necessarily the worst situation for everyone involved. She could go to another WSL side, potentially Leicester, Everton, somewhere like that could do with some forward players, maybe to Bristol City if they do sell someone and open up a space in their registration. So I think she'd be a good addition, and you're going to see a theme here with the top 2 sides because Hammarby have done really well this season. Yeah. For Chelsea, I think this is quite obvious.
It's an absolute no-brainer. They need a centre-half. Millie Bright, with Millie Bright injured, Carter, Mjelde, Buchanan have all not been up to the plate. They have not been good enough.
No.
We have looked really poor defensively. We need to bring someone in. Apart from that, rest of the pitch, faultless.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's weird seeing us linked with Denise O'Sullivan and Grace Goyoro, because while excellent players, especially Grace Goyoro, I'd take her in a heartbeat. Yeah. We don't need her. How is Grace Goyoro getting in the team, and who is getting benched for us? So, no idea why those links exist. But I've gone for someone who profiles very similarly to Millie Bright. It's Eva Nystrom. Now, name not be a household name yet, but it should be in the not too distant future because she's a 24-year-old Finnish centre half, and I will say that did interest me because I was like, come on. Any more nationalities we can get in there is strong. 13-time capped Finnish centre half, plays for Hammarby in the Swedish top flight. She put up 3 goals, 1 assist this season. She won the title, obviously, with Hammarby. Well, that's the thing. She is a threat from those corners. She's quite a tall centre-half for the women's game. For me, it just makes sense. A big Finnish centre-half who can come in and be that bright rotation. It gives you then 5 centre-half options. Obviously, Mjelde can play right back as well. Jess Carter can play either full back. So it's not like there's not going to be minutes to go around. It protects you from more injuries. Now, we do expect Millie Bright to be back for the FA Cup game on the 14th. So it's not like, oh God, everything's over, season over, we need a centre-half. But exactly, and it's nice to have a rotation option in there, especially when we're going to be trying to compete across all fronts. We need our players we can rely on to come in and do a job. And I think she'd fit that perfectly.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think if Chelsea are going to sign anyone, she would make a lot of sense. My other thing for Chelsea in this second half of the season is decide what we could do with Mako Hamano. Because either give her a lot of minutes, let's get starting on the team, or let's get another one.
Yeah.
So, obviously she was in that Hammarby team as well, I believe. Mako Hamano.
Yeah.
I believe she was on loan at Hammarby. So, it's good links there. Hammarby are clearly quite a decent side. Maybe just sign all their players. But, I think that's that rounds off this video nice. So we've gone through all the clubs there. Of course, if you've got some suggestions at home, leave them in the comments. If you've got any video ideas for the next couple of weeks, leave them in the comments as well. Obviously, once we have the WSL back, we'll be reacting to all of that sort of stuff, talking about the latest games. But while there is no football, get involved. Give us some video ideas, anything like that. But that is everything for today. As I say, give your suggestions in the comments below. You happy with all of my suggestions, Harry?
Very happy.
Thank you. That is everything for us today. Thank you guys very, very much for watching, and we will see you next time.
See ya.